This is a place.
This is the place?
This is a place. We want to talk about. This is a place.
Welcome to this week's episode of This is a Place podcast. My name is Nate, and with me is a guy who believes that shaved ice is no joke. Brandon.
I do believe that. And I believe that there is a science to the shaved ice. So it's nothing you should joke about.
There is a science. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves already.
I'm sure that our guest can elaborate more on what I'm talking about.
We're going to bring him in already?
Yeah, let's just do it.
Just do it.
For the first time ever on This is the Place podcast, we have Matt Baxter. Matt, thanks for coming to the show.
I think
Start already.
It's going to be a long one.
He's just laughing because he's just showing.
Oh, why'd you say that? I was going to keep all this in until you messed it up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
just do a little,
I could have.
a little. He showed us
My
his.
grandma listens to this show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
We decided to bring you on for this episode because, you know what? It's been a while. It's been a while since you've been on.
It has been a while. I felt that. I love listening every week, and I thought, you know what I'm missing is hearing my own voice. So I texted you and I said, "Hey, can I be on?" And so here we are.
That's not
I mean,
true. That's not how it went.
I had to pay you. That's right.
No,
so I
you
Venmoed
texted
you the
me.
money.
Let's tell the truth. You texted
Okay.
me and said, "I have a great idea for an episode."
Okay.
And without telling me that you wanted to be a part of it, I knew because you recommended this thing that you wanted to be on it. So it didn't even have to be a conversation. I just said, "Okay, when are we recording?" Because obviously you're going to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And we also feel a little bad, Matt, that we talked about Salt Lake Community College without bringing you on, since that's kind of your area of expertise, right?
That's all right. I enjoyed, that guest brought something that I couldn't bring, which was the student experience, however long ago it was. So I thought it was a great episode. That Salt Lake Community College is also in the news right now. I don't know if you saw. So they don't discriminate.
Against pregnant women?
But
Oh, they do discriminate. Yeah.
Oh.
So basically, there was a pregnant student who asked to get help. Basically, she needed help with her work and was asking for additional time for an assignment or something like that, and was basically told to lighten her load because she's pregnant and shouldn't be doing that much work. So that was all over the news this week, and unfortunate, but
You know why it was on the news, though? Because every time we do an episode, it pops up in the news. Not our episode, but the topic.
Oh, that's a good point, Brandon.
We lead the charge on everything.
Well, I'm a little nervous about this episode because we're calling it Murder at the Snow Cone Shack. And
Is this a prophecy episode?
I hope not, because it's funny. I actually Googled like crimes in Utah at snow cone shacks to see if there was possibly a murder at a Utah snow shack. And unfortunately, I should say, there has not been that I could find. There was a guy.
Murders, no. But
crimes?
I'm sure we'll get to crimes.
Crimes, yes, but not murders. But the interesting thing is, if you Google search outside of Utah, there's actually quite a few murders at snow cones places outside of Utah. I think every episode we got to do some background and find out if there was a murder at the location or at the business, or if the person we're interviewing is a murderer. Matt, potential.
I guess there are tigers that are murdered.
Well, I know Matt Blues got murdered in the playoffs.
Yeah, they did. No, they played pretty well against Colorado. Um, they're the only team that's beaten Colorado so far in the playoffs, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, they did make me a little nervous, but 2 games away from the cup. Well, by the time this airs, it could be 1 game away.
I have nothing to say about hockey, so
I bet New York fans were saying that when they were up 2-0 in the series.
Okay, we can change subjects to make it so that Brandon can be involved.
no,
What's
no, no.
what's
We can transition it because hockey, icing, snow cones.
no, not where I was going, Brandon. Not where I was going.
Okay, all right.
I just want
where
to
were you
touch
going with it?
briefly the Utah Jazz uniforms.
Oh man,
Does anybody else think that because of COVID, they had so many extra junior Jazz uniforms laying around that weren't used, so they're just going to recycle them into the Jazz uniforms this year?
so you're
My
talking
daughter
about the
plays.
purple ones, not the black and yellow ones.
Yeah, because that's what they look like. They look like the rec league uniforms.
My
Yeah,
daughter plays junior jazz, and those jerseys are more exciting than the new jazz jerseys. So don't be knocking on the junior jazz jerseys. Those ones are nice.
so well, maybe it was a misprint and they just had a whole bunch of leftover jerseys since they had to use them. So here we go. I don't know. I know it's only been a few days since they've announced the new colors, which we kind of knew was coming anyways. But I don't think the feedback's been very, very well. What's the word I'm looking for? Accepted by the general public.
I will say, I ride treks to work and I work at Gateway, and they have the note out in front, and they constantly change it. So it was black, and then it was bright yellow, and then it was green and yellow. And then I noticed last week it was the mountains and it was purple and blue. And I'm like, that is the greatest. That is so good. And then that same day is when I saw the new jerseys revealed. They have so many cool jerseys. And why did they go to those?
I know. I never liked the mountain jerseys back in the 90s anyways. I just never liked it. It just sucks that that's the time that they were relevant and playing in the finals.
Yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm still kind of bitter watching the Golden State Warriors win this last week. Just brought up some bad memories of Jazz not being there. So I'm moving on to other sports like hockey. If it weren't for the Avalanche this year, I'd be pretty depressed as far as sports go. But the Avalanche seem to be pulling. See what happens with the baseball season. I think that's all we got left right now is baseball, right? And speaking of baseball, I got a clip I want you guys to listen to, right? You might have heard this before.
My parents didn't know what to do with me. They got me into Little League Baseball. I played out in right field because I stunk. But you don't know. You just show up, you know. I got my glove. You any good? I don't know. My mom told me to come out here. We'll get out in right field. Okay. Turn around, you moron. Oh, okay. Not the whole way. Oh, only some way. I never knew what was going on out in right field. All I knew is at the end of the game, I'd get a free snow cone. That's all I knew. I'd be out there, oh, free snow cone, free snow cone. Brian, what's the score? Free snow cone. Free snow cone at the end of the game. If you play, they're going to give you a free snow cone. Even if you play half game, you get the whole, you don't get a half snow cone. You get a whole snow cone for half the game. The people that play whole game get a whole snow cone, and the people that play half game get a whole snow cone. So it's always whole snow cone. So I'd rather play half game. Still get the whole snow cone. How many outs, Brian? Grape! I'm gonna get grape or cherry. They're both favorites. So either one is good. If they have both, I get grape though, because that's a little more favorite. But if they don't have grape, it's like, oh, that's fine, because cherry's favorite anyway, you know? So it's like another favorite, but not as much. Not as much favorite. But they're both good. They're both good.
Have you listened to Brian Regan before?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Many
it's,
much moosin'.
I can't hear the word snow cone without thinking of Brian Regan. So now our listeners know why.
I identify with that same logic because I played Little League Baseball and I hated it. But I did love the snow cones. My only fond memories of baseball were the snack shack.
They actually at the South Jordan leagues where we play softball have a snack shack that they were trying to get going. It doesn't have the same appeal with adults as it does with kids. Because I think after like a year doing it, they're like, this is worthless. Nobody's buying anything. Because I mean, you go to, we don't really have spectators at our games, and all the adults are playing with the money. They don't really bring their kids. So I don't think it made much money. But for youth baseball, absolutely. Snack bar was a big deal.
Ours didn't make sense because, of course, at the end of each game, you'd get a ticket and you'd go to the snack shack. And with one ticket, you could get 2 pieces of gum or a bunch of treats, but like 2 pieces of gum or a scone. And it's like those are not equal things at all. So everybody would go and get scones after the game.
Where did you
I don't
play,
think we
Matt?
had Snow Shack. I played in the Kearns Pony League.
Oh. Okay, now we're talking about baseball instead of snow cones.
They go hand in hand though.
Yeah. Yes, they do. But yeah, we're talking about snow cones today. That's the official topic. Murder at the Snow Shack.
Mm-hmm. And I read online, which has to be true. Snowy, isn't that a snow cone brand? They do like the snowy ice, and you can buy your own home machine, which is really
Right.
cool. But one of their executives or something was in Park City a year or two ago, and he says that shaved ice or Utah is becoming the shaved ice capital of the world, especially Salt Lake City.
We love all the treats. Doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
There are snow cones all around the valley, snow shacks during the summer. And when I served my mission in Portland, there were no snow shacks anywhere. I noticed that.
Really?
Yeah, there's like hardly any snow shacks around. And in fact, one of my last areas, like 3 weeks before I left, this family bought a snow shack, and I actually taught them. They had the same snow machine that we used where Brandon and I worked, and so I taught them how to use it to make the best ice. So they're very appreciative. I don't know how it went, but there really did there wasn't much competition because there were no snow shacks in Portland.
How about New Jersey?
No, never saw a
Really?
Snow Shack.
Which is interesting because 25 years ago, some guy got murdered in New Jersey at a snow. Well, actually, I think he was one of those street vendor, like the push the cart type snow cone.
Oh yeah,
Or
those
those.
are all over the place.
And then Matt's comment brings up another question for me. You guys used to work at a snow cone shack?
Yeah, that's the whole reason why Matt introduced this idea, and I knew right away that he wanted to be a part of it because my first job, maybe his first job, I don't know, was at the Thomas Snow Shack.
Yeah, yeah, it was my first job, and I don't know if there was an official name, but it was owned by my father-in-law, who I live with now. Um, and yeah, they own 2 snow shacks, one on 6200 South and 20th East. There's the store, and it was right in front of there, and then one on 9th East and Fort Union Boulevard in front of the Alberts or the
Smiths.
Smiths. Yeah, it's actually on that corner there. And we got a ton of business at that one. You were excited to work at that shack because if you worked at nights there, you'd get tons of money in tips. But if you wanted a slow day where you didn't have to do much, you'd want to work at the store because there wasn't as much traffic.
So how long did they have the Snow Shacks?
I am not sure. I think, let's see, they got them when I was in 8th grade. So that was 2007. They probably got rid of them in 2012. They probably sold them in 2012. So they had them for a little bit. Alan, my father-in-law, bought them so that his kids would have jobs. And his idea was that eventually they would take over, run them, and that would help pay for their school. But it just became something that nobody wanted to do. So he sold the snow shacks off. But it was great for Brandon and I and a bunch of our friends in high school or junior high that wanted a job. It was an easy first job. And surprisingly, like the hourly wage was about the same anywhere else you'd go at that age. But we made
Decent
tons of
tips.
money in tips. Yeah, you can make good money in tips.
Oh, I was gonna ask that. Like, what were the tips like? Like,
They were good. I can't remember.
I think the most I got was $58 in one night.
would you be I mean, we need to have a whole episode on this, the tipping game. But would you be expecting a tip? Was it a surprise? Were you mad if somebody didn't give you a tip?
I don't know about Brandon. I never expected a tip.
Did you have like a little tip jar, or they just
Yeah.
okay?
In fact, Brandon, I don't know if you remember this. We had to there's like a metal tray that comes out, and we'd have to bolt the tip jar to the tray because people had stolen them before. And there was one time where they went to grab it and didn't know it was bolted, and it just caught them off guard, and they almost ate it and then just ran off.
Sorry
I don't
about
remember
that.
that it was bolted, but I did remember we had to, anytime we got bigger denominated bills, you'd have to stuff them down below in the case that someone would steal or try to hold you up.
Yeah, it was always a good rule. You'd want to put a few dollars in there. So when you started your shift, I'd take like $1, $2, or $3 out of my wallet,
Yeah, I did
put
the
it
same.
in there. Yeah, so it looks like people have already tipped you. And then throughout the night, you would clear out your tip jar. So it didn't look like you had too much, but it looked like people were tipping you. So
Ooh, strategy.
Shows
I
you
like
it
it.
was
there's
okay.
strategy.
Like, I'll accept these tips, and I have.
Yeah. So that was a nice part of it.
I remember growing up working at Classic Skating. There was a kid who came in a lot, and he worked at a snow shack over by the Contwood Mall. So I could just get some Classic Skating passes, and he would basically trade me snow cone for a Classic Skating pass. Just remember that summer was fun.
You just reminded me of a little scandal that somebody got in trouble for so the one on 6200 South and 20th East across the street is a Subway, and our friend worked there. And so the deal was if she came over, or we would let each other know our shifts. So she'd come over and get a free snow cone, and we'd go over there and get free subs, which was not even at all. And then she got caught and in big trouble. But those free subs were great while they lasted.
While they lasted.
Never got a
And
free
same
sub.
thing, there's a Rumby in front of Smith's, and we used to we just give them punch cards, but we'd give them like a stack, like a ton to make it worth it, 10 punch cards for a free snow cone, and they'd give us free meals. But
Oh.
they stopped that as well. So Brandon, you might not have known about that one.
No, I wasn't involved in that one. But I only worked there. I don't know about you, Matt. I only worked there for one summer. I think was it sophomore year.
And if I can be completely honest, and I've told you this already, I have absolutely no memory of you working there. I do not remember you working there, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, I worked there one summer, and I think the novelty of it for me was the free snow cones, because you could just be there. I mean, as we heard from Brian, his favorites were grape and cherry, but maybe that's just because he didn't know how good the other flavors were, because he was too scared to try them and risk that free snow cone, you know? But the nice thing about working at a snow shack, you could try all sorts of combinations and flavors, and then you could really know what was the good stuff, and then recommend it to people. But after probably 2 shifts, I was sick of snow cones.
So what ones would you recommend, Brandon? What were your favorites?
I don't remember.
No?
I would do a combination of a grape and a tiger's blood, and something else. I can't remember. It was
That's too bad.
what was your favorite? What was your go-to?
There was a few I loved. We had a French vanilla, so French vanilla with cream, which was half and half. That was way good. Or pina colada with cream. The weird flavor that I loved that nobody liked, and it was my favorite, was red hot, which is just tastes like a hot tamale. And then every
Isn't there
now and
like a
then
pink champagne one too?
people loved that one. I was not a fan. People got that all the time.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite either.
That was gross. But I also occasionally would have root beer, um, which was okay. Although, so we used to do this thing. I don't know if you did it, but there's an extra large, which was $4, but it was way too much. And whenever people got it, like secretly, we'd be like, "There's no way you're gonna finish this. This is disgusting. How much sugar this is." Um, but we would do a competition. You had to do the extra large challenge, and so you had to pick a flavor that you liked enough to eat an extra large, but didn't like so much that you would ruin it. So mine, I picked root beer. So after that, I really couldn't eat too many root beer snow cones because all I could think about was the time I got sick from eating the extra large.
I didn't realize how much went into it because it's just these snow shacks are pretty small, and so it's just you in there. So you've got to do the mixing of if you needed a new flavor to put in the concentrate in the sugar water or whatever it was, and you had to make the snow cones, clean up. Everything was all on you, and it made for a long, sticky day for sure.
Did you guys already mention what brand of Snow Shack you worked at?
It's Snow Shack, SNO Shack. And that was like the building. And then I'm pretty sure that was the same ice machine we had. We got rid of those ice machines and we have one in our garage that is way good, but I can't remember what it's called. But that makes the best ice.
Well, this kind of brings us to we mentioned that Utah's a pretty big place for snow cones. We have no shortage of snow shacks of all sorts here. So, what are you guys' opinions? What are some of the best places, best ice, best place to get a snow cone around town?
It's easy. Classic skating. I don't know if they still have their snow cone machine, but I remember making them in the snack bar.
Pretty good quality ice.
Yeah, pretty similar to probably snowy, kind of like the snowball effect. And that's a question I guess I bring up too, is what type of ice do you guys prefer in your snow cone? Do you like
Yeah.
the snow brand or you like the kind of chunky icy one, slushy type feel?
I do like that from time to time, but I think usually the snowy is the best.
Yeah, for sure. The snow is the best. There was a place by my old house in West Jordan that was just packed all the time. And me and my wife would drive by and be like, why? Like, do people not realize how terrible it is? Because it was like the crushed ice. And then they'd pour the flavor on it and it wouldn't even stay on it because it was just crushed ice.
Right.
By
And this,
West Jordan High, right?
yes. And they've got like seats out there and everything. And it's always packed. And it's terrible.
For
It was
no
terrible
reason.
ice. I think they just didn't know any better. But for one summer, we lit that Macy's on 7800 South. There was a snow shack in front of that Macy's, and that it resembled our snow shack a ton. So me and my wife started going there a lot, and then they didn't return. But we loved that snow shack.
I really enjoy I don't even know how you pronounce it, and I probably asked them 100 times, but the Hokulia or Hokulia, they seem to be everywhere now, but I think they do a really good job. I could keep eating those all day.
Do they have like the ice cream in the bottom?
Yeah, they do the ice cream in the bottom.
I've never had that kind.
They're really good. The snow, it's more of a snow consistency, and you can get it with the ice cream in the bottom and then also snow capped with the cream on top. It's pretty good. And we go there quite a bit in the summer. They usually have one, they used to have one at the Reams, kind of close to where Nate and I live. But the one that we go to now is by the Smiths on 47th
The Smiths on 47th and what?
and 40th.
Ben, get it right.
Yeah.
I was going to mention this. When we bought our snow shacks, Lindsay's uncle had a wife. They are now divorced. She was an idiot, and she thought that it was free money to own a snow shack because you're bringing in so much money. And we're like, that's not how it works. She will put hers out in front of a Smith's on 90th South, and they got robbed at gunpoint one night, which is crazy. That never happened to us, and I don't think that ever happened at our snow shack. The worst we'd get was like a counterfeit bill, but yeah, and that was in a nicer area, like in South Jordan. They got robbed at gunpoint.
I think at that location they have a Hokulia now. And those are really big. They have multiple people working. They're a big, almost trailer. And they've got so many flavors. At least 2 people working every time, maybe more.
Which I wonder overhead and markup on that one compared to a little small shack like you guys used to work at. What's more beneficial to own?
We would create the flavors. We'd mix them. And I'd imagine it's not too much money what goes into making that. But then everything else involved, I mean, there's costs. So that markup is, I'd imagine it's not the biggest money maker, but for what you're getting, just snow or ice and sugar, pay a pretty penny. Plus tip.
Did you ever experiment, Brandon? Try to put like I don't know, because we did half and half. But have you ever experimented in trying to put other flavors in snow cones or other? I can't condiments, but that's not the right word.
What do you mean, like sprinkles?
Sure, maybe sprinkles or like salt or anything. Even though salt would melt ice.
No, I did not. I guess you, sounds like you probably did. Just salt.
I've done the, would you say half and half? So you put in it? Or,
Yeah, half and half.
yeah, I've done that before. I have a snow cone machine, like one of those homemade ones that does kind of more of the crushed ice, which can be good, but it's more that's good for like drinking sodas or things like that. But my brother-in-law has one of those snowy machines, and when we use his, we do the half and half in the snow cones. It's pretty good.
There was one night I was working at the snow shack, and my girlfriend at the time broke up with me. So I was crying all night, and it ended up being a really busy night. So I'm sure my salty tears got into some of those people's
Those
snow
were the
cones.
extra condiments that you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. That was really embarrassing because it really was packed, and it was obvious that I was crying.
Was your girlfriend that broke up with you your now wife?
That freaking jerk. Yeah. Why would she knew she did the schedule. Why would she break up with me while she knew I was working? It was the worst.
Well, I want to hear more about this whole breakup. Obviously, it worked out.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember. That's kind of where I met Lindsay, and like the way I would flirt with her is to be my straight-faced sarcastic self. And so we were switching, and she was supposed to get there at like 3 o'clock, and it was like 3:02, and she didn't know me well. And she knocked on the door, and I opened it from the inside, and I was like, just straight faced, "You're late." And she was like, "Sorry," and I'm like, "Just don't be late again." And then I left, and that was my way of like flirting with her. Oh, it worked out in the end, I guess.
I know it's a little too late, Matt, but usually when you get to that point when you're walking away, you say, "Just kidding, have a good night." You don't just keep walking.
I think to me that was like part of the joke is that she didn't know if I was being serious or not. Which was pretty funny. But I mean, it did work out. That was the summer. Yeah, it probably was like 2 weeks after that we were going to Lake Powell, the first time I was ever going, and I was working at the snow shack, and at the time my best friend Ryan, which is Lindsay's brother, he was working at the other snow shack, and so I called him, and I'm like, "What's up?" I'm like, "It's way dead," and he's like, "Yeah, it's dead here too." And I was like, "Hey, so when we go to Lake Powell, I'm gonna put the moves on your sister," and he just laughed. He's like, "All right, that's fine," and so that's always been like the family joke. As I called Ryan, we were both working at the snow shack, told him I was going to put the moves on his sister. And then I did. I got her number after that trip. And that night I told her I liked her, and she replied and said, "Cool." And I was like, "Oh man, I totally screwed up." And then it's because she said cool. And then she started typing a reply too. But obviously back in the day, you couldn't see people were typing. And she was texting me to tell me she liked me as well. So that's where it all started for me and Lindsay.
So you really have snow cones to thank for everything you have. If you want to, this should actually
Yeah.
be romance at the snow shack rather than murder at the snow shack.
I would tell her how much I love her right now and just how I truly feel about her, which I would never tell her to her face. But she won't listen to this episode, so I'll just keep it to myself.
Maybe we should all express love for our wives to see who really listens and who lies.
Okay, well, that's kind of funny you bring that up, Brandon, because like last week we did the subject we want to talk about anymore, and my wife asked me, "Did we only watch that so you could do it for your episode?" I'm like, I said, "You obviously did not listen to the episode to hear the history of why we did that episode." So my wife doesn't listen either, is the moral of the story. My wife has listened to it in the past. I know that was something she used to listen to at work, but I guess we don't intrigue her enough to
They hear enough from us
listen
already.
all the time.
This
That's
is just
true.
an opportunity for us to come talk, and they get rid of us for an hour or so.
Yeah. And then this cost us money to do. Till lately,
We got ads if you haven't noticed.
yeah. So I don't know if we should apologize or thank our listeners for letting us put the ads in there so we can subsidize our fees.
I had one listener complain and say we went too corporate, but I guess he's not that upset because he's doing this podcast with us today.
That's right. Yeah, I don't want to be listening to your podcast and then hear that the voice that's not even it. I don't think it's either of you. It's like,
It's
we'll
not.
be right back.
No, it's not.
So
I mean, I could go in and record one, add the music, do our own transition, but that's just too much work.
We'll get there. Once we really start making money at it, then we'll put some effort
Yeah.
into it.
Maybe.
it'd make it easier though. If you use Squarespace. Squarespace is the simple tool that you can use.
Stop.
It's like people are just going to do things just because they're going to get paid.
I do have one last thing that I need to mention about a snow shack and what determines if it's going to be a good snow shack or not. And that is the fakey snow cone.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The one hanging in the window,
Yeah.
the show, and it's like that fakey ice. It doesn't even look real.
It's like the fakey ice cream cones they have at Disneyland.
Yeah, and that top, you can tell it's a fake. It's just a fakey top. It's too perfect. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
We had to throw in that joke, Nate, because we both listen to the Office Ladies podcast, and they cannot go a single podcast without saying fakey 500 times.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware.
They
What's
say the word
fakey?
fakey, like,
They're talking
they threw
about
that,
props.
yeah, they threw that bottle at his head, but it was a fakey bottle. They just say fakey all the time.
Oh,
Before I started working at the Snow Shack, I was hanging out with Ryan, and somebody gave us a fakey $20 bill. And
It's the same guy from Springville.
No, it was a lady, and you know, it's kind of hard to see faces. The window's like low. It's an awkward spot. So we didn't, I mean, we kind of saw her face, but there was another part of her body that was noticeable. And so Ryan told his mom what he noticed about this lady. So when the cops got there, she was like, Ryan, tell the officers what you told me. And Ryan was like, she was flat chested. And the officers just started laughing. And they wrote it down as her description. So the flat chested lady gave us a fakey $20 bill. And the way we actually found out is for whatever reason, Ryan didn't put it in the till. He left it on the counter, and the counter was wet and the colors bled through. And it was a bad fake. It was obvious. He was embarrassed, and I don't think he ever accepted a fake bill after that. It was really bad. But that was my fakey $20 bill story. So I'm glad you brought that up, Brendan. I have one more thing. And this is just for you two. Every summer, my neighborhood gets together and we bust out the snow maker and we do snow cones. So I will have to let you guys know when we do it this year, and you can come over and have some real good snow cones.
Why is Matt telling this now? Why do we not have a party first at Matt's house, have snow cones, and then
That's what
record
we
the
should've done.
episode?
Well, it's a secret.
We're doing this
Yeah,
backwards.
it's a secret.
Maybe that can be our first podcast meetup, hosted by Matt, providing the snow cones to all our listeners. I love it.
No,
I love it.
two of your listeners will be there. So, but yeah, we do them. And actually, my father-in-law, Alan's a manager at RC Willie, and every summer they do a party at Sugar House Park, and we also do free snow cones there. And the line for the free snow cones, just everybody comes through and gets at least one. So
Whoa. And they didn't even play a baseball game to get
they
them?
didn't even have to play a baseball game to get them.
Let me know when
Oh.
that takes place too.
Yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. It's a pretty exciting time. Actually, I think, you know what? It's Sunday day that they do the party. It's on a Sunday since RC Willie's open Monday through Saturday. Only time people can go is Sunday. So they do it Sunday, and then Sunday night is when we do the neighborhood thing because we have all the ice and we have everything out then. So it's the same day.
So we can double up.
Yeah, you could.
Well, my nephew works at a place called the Bahama Bucks, which isn't a Utah company until he leaves and soon on his mission. But I think he's quitting. But I want to go check it out. But every time I go, it's in Draper, to check it out, and I send him a text. He's never working when I'm in Draper, but
It's pretty meh, in my opinion.
Bahama Bucks. But it's year round. You don't have to go to a Reams parking lot. I was gonna say a funny story about him too is that, Big Buddha does his like spotlights on local businesses on Fox 13. So he did one on Bahama Bucks. Caleb, shout out to Caleb, my nephew who works there, was the one they interviewed. And I might be saying this incorrectly, but Buddha asked him what was his favorite snow cones, and he's like, I just like the white ones. And just the look on Buddha's face could it sound like he's being racist. I just like the white ones because he's allergic to food coloring is the reason why he can only eat the white ones. So he had to explain himself, but just the way it came off, it sounded very racist. It's kind of funny.
It reminds me of that episode of The Office when they go back and see the footage of Steve Carell or Michael when he was a kid on that TV show. And he says, I want to grow up and get married and have 100 kids so I can have 100 friends and they have to play with me or whatever he says. And the puppet's just like...
Just the look on his face. Yeah. And if anybody else there knows any mom and pop snow shacks that we should check out, as you can tell from the advertising in our episodes now, we can be bought. So if you want to give us some free snow cones, we'll come talk about your place.
And I just wanted to say happy Father's Day to you guys. We are recording on Father's Day. Brandon called me daddy today. I actually like that. Daddy. Brandon, can I call you daddy?
Yeah.
I like that. I like calling you daddy.
That's right. It is Father's Day, and Brandon's daughter made him a fantastic tie and made one for your father-in-law, who is my bishop. We couldn't tell like when he's sitting on the stand because we could only see the top of his tie. So I couldn't tell if he's wearing a necklace, something, or it was part of his tie. But
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it a peacock?
I don't know what it is. It's just a
It's just a monster.
creation of her mind.
That's great.
Yeah. I wasn't that embarrassed to wear it.
That is great.
Goes with
What
being
a
a father.
cutie.
But yeah,
Well,
happy
happy
Father's Day.
Father's
Belated Father's Day. And I guess this episode timing is actually perfect because we're officially in summer. So what better way to start summer than with an episode about snow cones?
and murderers.
dun, dun, dun.
Thanks for listening to This Is a Place podcast.
See you next week.